Good morning, everyone. This is Sani with another ramble here on the updated rewards blog for Varlamore Part 3. So let's get into it. Big one here. We're talking about the Doom of Moikahodl. So for the Avernic trends, the Tribird boots, basically they're saying, we heard people complain about these, needing 7 items to make it, and too bad. We're gonna move forward with that, which I think is fine. I mean, I know, like I said, kind of before, it's maybe a little annoying for Iron Men who before wouldn't really have a reason to go for Pegasians, but if you're at the level of Iron where you would be doing, I mean, this is they're pulling this as an end game boss. If you're at the level of Iron where you're going to be camping an end game boss like this, I think it's fair to, I mean, you would already have Eternals and Primordials for sure, and I think it's fair to kind of require you to have Pegasians as well, to make these. So again, like I said originally, I think it's fine to have this consumable for all 3. I mean, I think moving forward, if they do add boots on top of this, they would probably go another 3 set boots. So they would add a new best in slot melee, a new best in slot mage, and a new best in slot range boot that would be better stats individually than these, but these would always kind of stay as those Tribird boots. And then any upgrades on top of this, I think, should be standalone. I mean, I don't think you should have to have like 8 or 9 items to make whatever kind of boots will come after the Avernic Jordans. But yeah, I think for now this is totally fine. So big one here, the Eldritch Veil. So this is the best in slot mage cape. I talked about this in the last ramble about the debate on whether it should be tradable or untradeable. And I think Jagex is kind of echoing the same sentiments I had in my ramble here. So you're saying it was never intended to be an inferno or magic cape. So the trends was the standalone up lock from the boss. I actually kind of disagree with that. I think the veil was probably going to be, well, I don't know. The treads are really good, but the veil was going to be along that level as best in slot upgrade, and I think it was going to be around as expensive probably. I mean, depending on drop rates, obviously. It says it was intended to be a minor upgrade, but like I said, I mean, with the way shadow scaling works, any upgrade to mage damage is going to have a huge impact with the shadow. So it's still, even if it says it was a minor upgrade, it's still going to have pretty big damage boosting, especially like in Toa, places where you're using shadow primarily. So I disagree that it was a minor update. I mean, obviously the -2 prayer was kind of a dumb trade-off, and they've addressed that here, but I do think it was a bigger upgrade than they are kind of selling it. So yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I was saying. The Doom isn't like the Inferno. I don't know why they're saying the Inferno or Mage Arena. They should just say Coliseum here, because the Mage Arena isn't really the same. It's not like the Inferno or the Coliseum with a defined end goal and accompanying reward. And that's exactly what I was saying. I mean, there's not like an end boss at the Doom. The whole point is that you kill it endlessly. So it's kind of weird to have, a final boss and final reward from an encounter that's, scaled to go endlessly. And yeah, economic incentive for players to push themselves, totally agree. And then I also really like this point here where they're saying, we don't want to go, hey, every single cape upgrade always has to be untradeable now to the end of time, right? I mean, you think about the history of old school RuneScape, a lot of the best in slot upgrades used to all be untradeable or like quest rewards. So I mean, the best in slot gloves for a long time were Barrow's gloves, and that was an untradeable quest reward. So should best in slot gloves always be untradeable quest rewards? I mean, people obviously are fine with having the kind of 3 glove slots we have now all being tradable coming from bosses. So yeah, I don't think that we need to lock ourselves into the design concept of always having capes be best in slot and be untradeable. So but yeah, they kind of point that out, and then they say, and in this instance we're gonna set it aside and make it untradeable, and they're kind of folding on all of that they've laid out. I really disagree. I wish they weren't gonna fold here. I mean, this last point too, this is kind of what I was saying. It's an end game boss aimed at players above level combat 20, but it isn't the Inferno. We don't intend it to replace the Inferno cape, and I agree. I mean, I don't think this is like meant to be a huge accomplishment to kill the boss at Delve level 8. The whole accomplishment is killing it 10 times in a row at Delve level 8, right? That's That's the difficulty, is how many times can you do it in that one encounter, not can you do it once. And I don't think that's where the difficulty is going to come from in this ball. So, I mean, yeah, it's totally different than Inferno and Coliseum. And I think, having it tied to the same kind of mechanics and same kind of accomplishment, I think it's wrong in this instance. So I'm really disappointed they decided to make it untradeable. And we'll kind of go down why with the other changes. I think it's really going to hurt the ball. So what they're changing, untradeable item, I disagree with that. Boosting the prayer stats to +1 and changing the defense stats, I think that's fine, right? I mean, I think the minus, having a trade-off at losing prayer for +1 mage damage is, that was just unnecessary. There was no reason to have it minus prayer, and people pointed out there are plenty of other like demonic rewards in the game that have prayer stats. So yeah, I think that's a totally fine update to that. And I think, in general too, the issue with this mage cape is that, and I've said it before, I mean, the shadow just makes mage balancing impossible, and they really just need to address the shadow long term. I mean, we're at the point now that we were with the pre-nerf blowpipe, where you can't really make any new changes to range and release any new, like they couldn't release Masori before they changed the blowpipe because it would just be so busted. I mean, adding any sort of max hits to the blowpipe before, because it's a 2-tick weapon, just, I mean, it's exponentially better. So I really think they need to start to look at the shadow here, because it's really hindering their ability to design rewards in the mage space. Removing the mark so it doesn't attach to the god capes, I think that's fine. Making a standalone item, I don't think it needed to be tied to the mage capes. I mean, the mage capes are totally free to get, so I don't think it really mattered that much. But yeah, guaranteed drop at delve level 8 again. I don't like that at all. A flat minimum hit of 2 as a passive effect. This is interesting here. Any successful roll would roll between 2 and your max hit for damage. So it doesn't go with a 2-mana shadow, but it's better for. So this will help like Nilo's, obviously, where having a minimum hit of 2 would be a pretty big damage boost for Nilo. So that'll be that's a nice little passive upgrade, and I do like how they're making it so it doesn't interact with a shadow. So we're kind of boosting things other than the shadow, and again, kind of goes back to my point where the shadow's just in such a spot. We've got to now start making weird exceptions to it, because it's just too broken. It doesn't have a trade-off like the scythe. Something has to have low defense, and it has to be a 3x3, and T-bow, it has to have really high mage level, or it's completely useless. And the shadow, anywhere that you would use mage, shadow is always going to be best there. And even somewhere where you wouldn't use mage, shadow is still going to be really good, like the God Wars dungeon bosses. So shadow really just doesn't have the trade-off. They tried to make it so that having best in slot gear is kind of the trade-off, but it's not that difficult, especially if you're a main, if you have a shadow. I mean, you'll be able to go get Masori or an ancestral. Sorry, you'll be able to go get ancestral, and then all the other kind of best in slot mage upgrades are pretty cheap relatively. So yeah, I don't think the trade-off's big enough, and they need to adjust shadow in the future. The aegis, so this is the Demonbane weapon. Yeah, they say a lot of Demonbanes, doesn't have a lot of use case. And then they're saying it's kind of similar feedback at the Venator bow. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, I do know there was some feedback that the Venator bow wasn't as useful as people wanted, but that was mostly from the Inferno speedrun community. They were kind of upset because they thought it was going to be like this super cracked upgrade to chins or whatever, and it would really help speedrunning. It's really good for Coliseum speedrunning, obviously, but not so much for Inferno. But I mean, I remember a lot of like BA players were talking about how busted the Venator bow was going to be at BA, so they're just changing the attack requirement. Whatever. I still think this is going to be kind of a useless upgrade. Thrall upgrade here. So they're not moving forward with the Thrall upgrade. I understand. I mean, it was going to be kind of convoluted how they were going to have to make it work. So now they're saying they're working on a new self-contained reward that will change or enhance your experience within the fight. And they'll do Book of the Dead upgrades later. So all in all, I mean, if you're looking at what the boss drops from the Doom. So like I said in the past, I mean, their idea with the Doom, and I think, what players would want to see is that if you're camping this at delve level 8, it should be some of the best money in the game. I mean, if you're able to go get 10, 15 kill trips at delve level 8, you should be getting, 15 mil an hour, I think is a pretty fair number. But now with the changes they made, I mean, The only, the thrall upgrade was going to be kind of the big, base money for our, you kill it, you don't get a unique, but you still might get 1 mil a kill and thrall upgrade stuff. And that was always going to be useful and consumable. Now that they're just making it a self-contained reward within the fight, this is not going to be near as expensive as the thrall upgrade was going to be. So the demand for this, whatever they're going to change the upgrade to, is going to be way lower. This price is going to be way lower. So you're already taking away a lot of money there. You're losing the unique of the Veil, which was also going to be, either the most or second most expensive unique from the boss. The Aegis, they're not changing it. So this is still going to be like a, 5 mil item, pretty useless here. So you're really just like the treads, maybe 100 mil for the treads. I mean, depends on the drop rates, like I said. But now you're looking at what the boss is going to drop, and there's not a lot of money here. And I think that's the disappointing thing. I mean, they really, I think they wanted this boss to be kind of like the, Enraged Telos, where it's going to be some of the best money in the game if you're able to camp it at that high level. And with the way the upgrades look now, there's no way this is going to be great money. I mean, you're looking at like 5-10 mil an hour for camping this boss. These are my predictions, right? But I mean, they're taking away a lot of what was going to drive that price. So I think this is a really bad idea. I think making the Veil untradeable is a bad idea. And I think I'm okay with changing the thrall upgrade, but making it a self-contained reward is going to totally drop the demand for this as well and drop the price. I think they should look at something else for this that is applicable to the entire game and would actually, kind of drive that demand a little higher. So yeah, I mean, like I said in my last ramble, I think a good compromise is to make the Veil tradable, but you have to beat the boss at level 8 to wear it. That's kind of a little bit of a best of both worlds, where you still have that accomplishment where if you're wearing it, someone's like, okay, they were able to beat the boss at level 8, but you still are making it tradable, so you're driving up the GP per hour of the encounter. So, like I said, now at this point, this boss is just, I mean, it's like a Raxer, basically. I mean, it's dropping a niche item, a best in slot item, and that's really about it. And I don't think this is going to be, they're not going to get near the engagement that they want with this boss when they're not incentivizing people to kill it. Other stuff, I mean, new melee weapon here. I don't really care too much about this. I mean, this was kind of a more of a mid-game level item. They're removing the AoE portion, reducing the special attack energy, and yeah, it's more of a quest item. So yeah, it's not to shift metas or move needles, it's to celebrate the completion of our newest quest series. So this isn't really anything I care about. And same with the Slayer dungeon, I'm not really going to be interacting too much with this. So let me know your thoughts. I mean, I'm really disappointed. I really think they still need to look at these rewards more if they want this boss to hit the mark that they, that I think Jagex wants. And I think they want it to be that end game, campable, really good money for really good player boss. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, like always.